Welcome to the Mind of Basketball Podcast, also known as M.O.B Podcast. I'm Evan.
And I'm Ja.
And this is our basketball podcast where we recap, break down, and analyze players and teams from the previous games from the previous day. How are you this Monday afternoon, Ja?
I'm good. How are you? I know you
Well,
ready.
I'm doing good for right now. I mean let's break the fourth wall. As of this recording, we don't know the result of the Super Bowl. So right now, if you're wondering, my mood isn't as excited or as sad because I don't know the result, and neither do you.
Yeah.
In the edits, it will show some type of text or something about what happened in the game or whatever, whether I should be sad or happy. I hope I'm happy. Let's go, Mahomes. I hope you're pulling it through right now. But yeah, so as of this recording, this is before the events of the Super Bowl. So just to keep everyone in mind, everything in mind. As for that, I hope everyone's having a good day. I hope everyone will have a good day. I hope everyone enjoyed Super Bowl from what's happening right now. and as this is released from last night.
Yeah.
But this is after all the NBA games, so let's talk about it. Let's get into it. There was a lot of actually no, not a lot. Like 4 or 5 NBA games that happened.
Yeah.
And some of them interesting, some of them were embarrassing.
To put it the least.
Yeah, but let's talk about it. First, starting off with the 1976, the Celtics and the Phoenix Suns. This was not the greatest game ever played, but this was entertaining nonetheless.
Yeah, it was an entertaining game. Yes, it was.
This was a good back and forth game in the first half, but the Suns looked like they had a little run towards the end. And then the third quarter, that's where they made that big run. And they started off, got into a lead. And the fourth, Celtics made a run. He came back to the game. Got within 3, I believe, right?
Yes, they did.
Got within 3. But then the Suns was able to put it away, end the game, and win this 100-91. Your thoughts?
Yeah, this was a good back and forth game, just like what you said. The Suns were able to make their early lead in the beginnings. Celtics came back, made their run, and then the Suns in the third quarter just had a massive, huge run in which it looked like it was their game for the taking. And in my opinion, that's how it was this whole game. It just like, even though it was a competitive back and forth, the Suns just wanted it more down the stretch, as you could see each and every time with their energy, their ability, their movements, and everything. And don't get me wrong, the Celtics, they look good, but they just didn't look like they had that jump, in my opinion, compared to how the Suns had it. And you kind of seen that going down. Don't get me wrong, just like what you said, the Celtics made their big run down the stretch in the fourth quarter. But again, the Suns wanted it more, and they were able to take a lead and close it out.
Yeah, the Celtics were really struggling to hit shots. They were really struggling. Tatum and Kemba alike. Tatum got it going eventually, but Kemba was struggling throughout the entire game.
Yeah.
It was a good defensive performance by the Suns, to say the least. As for them offensively, it's pretty much balanced game from everybody.
Yeah.
Paul, no outstanding performance, really. But everybody really did their thing. Devin Booker, he had a double-double.
Mm-hmm.
He was passing the ball, I know. He's a good passer. He had a double-double. Aiden had a good game. Bridges had a good game. Paul had a good game. Johnson coming off the bench, stepped up big for them. So they needed that bench production. And yeah, and with all that being said, they was just able to take this game.
Yeah. It wasn't convincing or anything, but it was a good game. It was a good game. They played well within what we like to see from them, to be honest. So, nothing much to see said.
A great win by the Suns. Disappointing loss by the Celtics once again. By the way, they were without Jaylen Brown. But still, it looked like they didn't have any energy until late in the fourth.
You know what they basically said? The Suns said, "No Brown, no problem." He said no Brown, no problem.
All right, that was the only primetime game that happened that we had to cover for last night. But any other games that you want to talk about? There were about 4 other games that happened. So
yes, sorry. The Jazz versus Pacers. That was a really good game all up until the fourth quarter, or you could say like the under the 5-minute mark of the fourth quarter. The Jazz and the Pacers were just going at it. It wasn't truly no like I'm not gonna say there was no defense being played, but it didn't look like it in a way because it was just purely exchanging buckets back to back to back to back. Like Sabonis had it going, Brogdon had a good game, Donovan Mitchell for the Jazz had a good game, Bogdanovich, pure shooter, like Ingles good, and Rudy Gobert was controlling the paint. Like it was just well balanced from both teams. All until when it hit that fourth quarter, the Jazz just made a run to help close out the game at that point. Like the Pacers tried their best to keep up, but the Jazz have been having that momentum for they only lost one game as far as I can remember so far right now.
Yeah, within like the last 16, 17 games.
Yeah, 16, I think 15, 16 games. Like, they only lost one game and they have had momentum throughout this whole stretch and they only look like they're surrendering it. And as a result, the Pacers just met the bad end of the stick against that team. So, yeah, good win by the Jazz, man.
Yep, a really impressive win by this Jazz team who have been playing very well this entire season. Once again, they are the best team in the league record-wise.
Yeah.
All right. Any other game that you want to talk about specifically about your favorite team?
Oh man. Okay, so the Wizards. It's just let's just say I'm not gonna say that I know it's like I don't know if it's too early still, but I kind of lost faith in them.
Why do you say that?
Because it just looks like no matter what kind of faith or belief we have in them, they just can't win games. They just can't win games and they be getting blown out easily. No defense. A Hall of Fame talent can't score over 20 points a night. It's just it's just horrible. And the Hornets just violated. Let's just say that. The Hornets just violated, just to say the least. That's it. There's nothing else that needs to be said. Like if you saw the second half, it was all Hornets, and you just knew from that point on that the game was over. Like I legit watched it and I seen the run that they was going on, and I was just like, yeah, there's no need to watch this anymore. Let me just go away from it. So that's all I got to say to that.
Yep. Nothing else to really say. Disappointing was just all season. Just disappointing. All right. Well, I'll talk about the other 2 games. First, starting off with the New York Knicks up against the Miami Heat. And this was a really entertaining game. Julius Randle and Bam both trying to prove that they are all-stars individually. Great games by both of them, double-doubles by both of them. And this was back and forth in terms of the Heat and the Knicks. I mean, there was really trading buckets, a lot of league changes, a lot of ties. Then the fourth quarter hit, and he had got out a little bit. They were up by 4. And as a Knicks fan, this was very frustrating because the Knicks really, it's kind of like fumble, kind of look out of sorts. They kept too much passing. Nobody wanted to nobody wanted to take a shot.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like good ball movement passing. This is just, oh, here, take it. Here, take it. Like nobody was shooting. Yeah. Too many pump fakes, sometimes too much ball movement is bad.
Yeah.
Nobody's set up. Nobody's in rhythm. Nobody's trying to look to attack and be aggressive. And that's what I felt like for the Knicks late. Even though the Heat, and they was playing great defense on the Heat, and they couldn't hit shots. The Heat had the lead, and the Knicks couldn't shoot.
Yeah, they couldn't get on the roll.
They was refusing to shoot, and then they weren't hitting their shots. And all their shots that they had was tough shots because you're playing against the Heat, and they're fully healthy now. So all their defense is going to be great. So you can't pass up open looks against them. because once they recover, that's it.
Exactly. Just like what you said, over like, there could be a bad side to like, because when you look at the game of basketball, you're also supposed to say like, making an extra pass and everything is supposed to be a good thing, right? But like when you constantly continue to pass, it's just like, okay, who's gonna eventually take the shot? If nobody's looking to be in that mind to say, oh, I'm gonna take the shot the moment I get it because I got a good look, it's just like it got to be like a confidence or something, or like, due to the fact that since I guess they went on a slump in which they couldn't even hit shots at all, it's just like, it gets to them. And that's the reason why probably they're in that point where when they kept passing, they just like, who's gonna take the shot? Because it's just like, they probably, the fear that they probably won't get it. But hey, that's the thing. You got to keep on shooting. That's the whole purpose of the game.
Yep, and like I said, like it's really frustrating because this was a winnable game for the Knicks. It was within the grass. They just made more shots. They could have had this win against the Heat team. But the Heat were able to pick up the win, despite Julius Randle's performance, despite Reggie Bullock's first half performance hitting 6 threes in the first half, even though he was as cold as Sub-Zero in the second half.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, and Obi Toppin had he only played about 10 minutes, but he scored 7 points, and all his 7 points came in the fourth quarter. So that's good for him. I wish we could get him more involved into the offense and into the game because he hasn't been playing as much. He's on like a minute restriction, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, nonetheless, a great win by the Heat team. Tough loss by the Knicks. Hopefully they can bounce back. But yeah, fully healthy Heat team. I mean, it's hard to stop them. We saw the Heat team went to the finals last year. So yeah. All right. And the other game that happened, which was the last game that happened, featured the Sacramento Kings up against this Clippers team. And this was a really good game. Once again, by the way, Paul George did not play. So it was just Kawhi and his star power by his lonesome. But yeah, this was a really entertaining game. Lou Williams stepped up in that void offensively in the point reduction that they needed. As for the Kings, De'Aaron Fox, 36.
Closer.
Yeah, and he closed out the game for them.
Straight closer.
Yeah, and skipping to that fourth quarter, this was really back and forth. But then the Kings had answers. De'Aaron Fox made plays, not just scoring, but with his passing ability.
Yeah.
And Kawhi looked like he was a little bit timid in that fourth. He made 2 clutch shots.
Yeah.
After the Aaron Fox 3, he had a bucket after to take back the lead, and then he had ran over Harrison Barnes, and then had a layup to bring within the closing seconds or the closing minute.
Closing minute,
but, closing minute. But we needed more shots from Kawhi. Exactly. In that fourth quarter, they needed more shots from Kawhi. Paul George's not there. Lou Williams stepped up, but you are the superstar. You're the best player on the team. You are our official closer, so we need you. And he wasn't as aggressive as I would like for him to be.
Yeah, exactly. Just like what you said. One of the shots you made, I believe it was a fadeaway near the baseline, in which I don't remember if that was to put them back up or that was to I believe that was to put them back up. It was shot baseline, then the whole Harrison Barnes happened. But the thing is, it's just like each and every time that the Clippers either scored or made an attempt to score, the Kings was right there to make a bucket in order to like to say like, oh, I'm maintaining the lead. You know what I mean? Like, you talk about De'Aaron Fox's streak, then the Clippers tried to execute. If I don't remember, and when they did,
they did. Cool. Kawhi had the bucket after.
Yep. They scored the bucket right after. Harrison Barnes, I believe, got a tip in when De'Aaron Fox, who was in attack mode also the whole time, he got a tip in, and then the Clippers just couldn't answer at that point. From that point on, they tried to get a 3 because they needed the 3, but then they missed, and it was just no chance of hope for them going down that point.
Yep. Nonetheless, however, a great gutsy win by the Kings, who are now a half game back from the 8th seed. Only a half.
Yeah, surprisingly. Well, I always said there's no bad teams in the West, but surprisingly, I know we've been giving them a lot of flack lately because they have been kind of horrible at certain moments. But this Kings team is not that bad.
And with that one, also
Yeah.
Now above 500.
Yep. That's good. That's good. And
We
it's
do
only
give
because
them.
of. Oh, sorry. Go on. My bad.
Well, I would say, well, yeah. I was just saying, we do give them a lot of flack because I believe they have a lot of talent and they should be better.
Yeah.
That's what I believe. They could easily, with all the talent they have, why can't they be a top 7 team in the West?
Exactly. That is true. That is true. You got Fox, Hield, one of the best backcourts in the league, even though I feel like Hield has been having an up and down season. You have, Marvin Bagley, we're not going to get into him.
Underachiever, but you still have Harrison Barnes,
Yeah,
Tyrese
you have
Halliburton, probably the steal of the draft.
Yep. And you have Rashawn Holmes, who's been really productive for you. Like, this team has a lot of good talent on their team. It's just like, they just need a better structure, in my opinion. That's all that they need. Again, as I told you before, I feel like they need a big man, a more talented big man, and they also need a better structure down there in Sacramento because they just don't know their structure, their system, their fit yet.
Well, that goes to coaching. I think Luke Walton needs to do a better job at coaching his team.
Yeah, he does. He does. Even though he's coaching them well so far, he does need some things to fix it up. Yes, he does.
But yeah, like I said, Kings half game back from the 8th seed and are finally over 500.
Yeah,
So
what
there
you
you
got to
go.
say? Yeah, what did the reporter has to say about him and John Moran again?
Man, I don't know what was his problem. Well, yeah, right now they're ahead of the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
Well, that's because the Grizzlies didn't play as much
Yeah.
games, but still. All right. It is now prediction time for tonight's set of games. So rapid fire, we're going to go into it. First, starting off the first primetime game of the doubleheader, featuring the Rockets and the Hornets. Who you got?
Rockets.
Very quickly. Wow.
That's just my team for right now. They're a fun team to watch. I love watching them.
Mm-hmm. And I got the Hornets. They're also a fun team to watch.
Yeah, they are. Can't go against you with that.
Next, the Wizards of the Bulls.
Skip this one, please. We know the answer to this one already.
Yeah, well, this might be a final score might be 195 to 190. Yeah, I think if anybody's been watching the pod, they should know the answer. But if you don't, the Bulls.
Yeah.
The Raptors or the Grizzlies?
Grizzlies.
Raptors. The Timberwolves or the Mavs?
Mavs.
The Warriors or the Spurs?
Warriors.
The Cavs or the Suns? Suns. And, well, not in, but the second primetime game that we talked about is the Milwaukee Bucks up against the Denver Nuggets.
Bucks
as well. And lastly, the Thunder going up against the defending champions, Los Angeles Lakers. That was quick. Yep, yeah. Lakers.
Unless the Lakers don't do some BS of what they did last game against the Pistons, then yeah, I got the Lakers. Please. Oh my gosh, man.
Yeah, that was kind of embarrassing in that fourth quarter.
That was a bad win. I swear that was a bad win.
No, it's not a bad win. It's the win.
It's the win. It was a bad win. It got to a point where they look like they should have never even won.
Hey, at the end of the day. What else can you say? All right. I think it's time to wrap things up. Any final thoughts?
Nah.
Just nah.
Well, let's just say the Super Bowl hasn't happened yet as of the time of this recording, but I made the best team win. I say that.
Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, please. Nicole Harmon, Andy Reid, Honey Badger, please. Please.
You really want to see Tom Brady?
Get this win. Also, you got to get revenge on Tom because y'all should have been in the Super Bowl 2 years ago and y'all lost. So get this revenge, this win, please. And I hope I don't have edits in my face right now laughing at me. Please. Okay. All that being said, thank you guys for watching today's pod. Make sure you tune into tomorrow's podcast. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe.
And also follow IG down in the description below.
And once again, I'm Evan.
And I'm Ja.
And this was the Mind Basketball Podcast.